Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justice, and today we're going to be talking about Ryan Murphy's most recent horror show, The Beauty. Now, the story follows two FBI agents who race to uncover a conspiracy that threatens humanity when supermodels begin dying. The partners investigate the beauty, an STD causing aesthetic effects but proving lethal to those who are infected by it. The case becomes more twisted as they learn about a massive conspiracy behind this mysterious virus. Now, I have been no stranger saying this across a few different videos of mine now, give or take, but I love Ryan Murphy shows. I always go in expecting to see this like schlocky soap opera with at times deeply uncomfortable moments. Are they ever really that perfect? Typically not, but the man knows how to write B-rated horror like no other. He struggles landing on a good ending, yeah, but he usually has a fantastic ensemble of actors and a good story along the way that makes me more than forgiving to that than most people really are. I have seen plenty of people on YouTube say some pretty derogatory things about his show. This is really just a roundabout way of me saying that I loved this series, and for those said reasons. I know people have been really 50-50 on it. For the most part, from the reviews I've seen, they have torn this show to absolute shreds, in fact. But many of the things people are saying are things that don't really amount to much for me at the end of the day. And the biggest complaint I have seen across the board for this series is that it's a blatant ripoff of the 2024 film The Substance. And not to regurgitate what others have already pointed out, but The Beauty is based off a graphic novel that came out years prior to The Substance. So it is its own original thing. Do I think this show would have been made if it weren't for The Substance? No fucking way, but that doesn't bother me. Something I haven't seen anyone point out, though, is that the horror genre is mainly built off of imitators, and that's coming from a huge horror fan. Without having Michael Myers stalking and murdering babysitters, we'd never have gotten Jason Voorhees doing the same thing to camp counselors. Furthermore, without Scream, we wouldn't have gotten that wave of meta horror. So things like I Know What You Did Last Summer or urban legends, hell, even established franchises like Chucky directly took inspiration from Scream in making Bride of Chucky and used Scream's playbook to revitalize their own franchise. So is it that shocking to me at the end of the day that a show with similar story beats to a massively popular movie was made? Not really. It comes from the territory of this genre. In no way do I think it's the same thing, though. Yes, both shows have to do with beauty standards and body horror, but The Substance's transformation is distinctly the drug making you two entirely separate different people, whereas The Beauty's drug is as simple as all the promos and teasers put it.
The Beauty. One shot makes you hot.
You remain the same mentally, it's just your physical self that undergoes a transformation. And The Substance also sets forth to push a message and even transcend the horror genre, hence it becoming this huge Oscar film. This show is simply a more shock value, entertaining B story. One that had me hooked from the beginning to end, but it wasn't trying to be a huge think piece like The Substance. It's just fun TV. This isn't me just jerking off Ryan Murphy's ego. He has had his fair share of failures after all. Just look at the most recent seasons of American Horror Story or the massive, and I mean massive flop that was his other most recent horror show, Grotesque. I just genuinely enjoyed this project. It felt like American Horror Story to me when AHS just wants to entertain you and isn't trying too hard. It had a similar score and writing style. Even the main theme of this show felt very referential to American Horror Story. You even had Evan Peters as one of the lead actors, so the AHS tones are fully there. You also get cameos from other AHS alums like Billy Eichner and Isaac Powell, the latter of which was massively underused, but I'll digress on that for now. You even get the often known stunt casting that AHS does by hiring unlikely stars in the series. Cue Meghan Trainor's cameo, or even Ashton Kutcher's leading role. Now, this review is going to be more of a my 3 thoughts on this series and not a full-on breakdown, but there will be spoilers. It wrapped up its final episode a couple weeks ago now, so I'd say if you're a fan of Ryan Murphy's horror projects, I'd give it a watch because you'll probably end up enjoying it. But if you've grown tired of the Ryan Murphy shtick per se, then this series isn't for you, because at the end of the day, this series has every staple of a Ryan Murphy TV series. But anyways, I'm just going to get some of my free thoughts now, so if you don't want spoilers, you've been warned. Now, a huge thing I liked about this show was not only did it have this like very twisty-turny story with this huge mystery element to it of where this drug was coming from before eventually realizing it essentially was this big pharma scam. It seemed like it was directly pointing at and critiquing the recent uprise in like people using Ozempic nowadays, and I feel like that's a fair thing to critique. I feel like we had that whole like body positivity movement in the 2010s. I mean, you literally had Meghan Trainor with All About That Bass, and now you have this show that is talking about how being beautiful is the only thing that matters about yourself, and then you have Meghan Trainor, who is now apparently hot because she's skinny. I just think that we have very much gone backwards in time, and we are making people feel bad for their bodies again if they don't have like a certain kind of like hourglass figure, and it's really sad to see. And I feel like the show was trying to like poke at that and critique it massively.
Get jabbed and feel fab today.
Other than that too, this played up like a schlocky action film at times. It very much had echoes of like the 2000s type of like horror action movie to it. I'm thinking about things such as Resident Evil or Underworld. Even in the very first episode, you have Bella Hadid, who is playing this model who is at this fashion show, and all of a sudden she gets like extremely thirsty and ravenous is the best way to put it for some water, starts attacking some people that are in the audience before eventually in her skin-tight leather suit jumping on a motorbike and then zipping across the city streets of Paris, which they shot on location, which is pretty fucking cool in of itself. But as she's zipping around on this motorbike, it very much gave me the vibes of, like I said, Alice in Resident Evil. It was really fun, cool, and like extremely over-the-top B-movie style, which I'm gonna say B-movie a lot in this because that's what Ryan Murphy is, but I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just dumb fun, and I was completely here for it. But having her in it, she was very much one of the main stunt casts of this season, because they had her all over the promos for it, and all she is in this opening sequence, because as I said, she had this ravenous thirst for water. She ends up breaking into this restaurant, attacking some people, and then when she gets outside, there are all these SWAT cars that have guns that are trying to put a stop to the mayhem that she is causing, only for her to literally explode all over all these officers. And there is so much good gore and like stuff for like the gore hounds in this series throughout, and honestly, like, that shocked me. But as the show went on, there were more and more scenes that were just extremely gross out to me and like made me extremely uncomfortable, and even topped some of the more like intense uncomfortable scenes in American Horror Story. I think the thing that I thought was I got a buddy. I think the thing that made me the most uncomfortable when watching it was the transformation sequences after people had been infected by the beauty virus and started to undergo their metamorphosis. You have this one scene where Evan Peters undergoes the transformation, and you literally see his like rib cage burst out of his chest, and there's like all these ooey gooey effects. Even later on, they have this side character, Bella, who is this high school girl, and she sees that all of her friends in school are on the beauty, that all these other people at school are on the beauty, and just seeing like how changed and different they are from it, and wanting that so bad to be her. And then when she finally gets the chance to take the beauty, she ends up becoming this deformed, disgusting monster, and it was super heart-wrenching seeing that, because it was extremely sad. You just wanted the poor girl to fit in. I mean, she just had low self-esteem. She didn't need to literally become this like swamp monster, but like, oh, just looking at her, it was so disgusting. And her like mom ends up finding her in the closet like this. And maybe this is just me, but the first thought that came in my head, if I were that mom, and I know it would be hard to do, and I'm not a parent, so I probably can't even like visualize how hard it would be to do, is the fact that I feel like at that point you should just put your child out of their misery, because she straight up became a monster. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, Bella was a fucking monster at that point, you guys. That bitch straight up made Swamp Thing look more like Chris Hemsworth at the end of the day. That was something that was really exciting for me to see, because many of the horror elements, yes, they were there in his most recent horror project, Grotesque, but they didn't really land for me. They felt overused, overdone, and like they were just ripping off other things. These ones were like very imaginative effects, and they very much bordered on some of the more disturbing imagery I have seen in any of Ryan Murphy's shows, and for that I have to give him kudos where kudos are due. Another thing with this show too is it's extremely campy, and you have to get down with the dumb fun of it if you're going to like this series, and there are just so many characters in it that are just there for the camp value, really, which his name isn't coming to mind right now, but Ashton Kutcher is in the show. He's the lead of the big pharma industry that is trying to push the beauty out to the masses so that they can make all of this money off of it. But he has a wife, and she refuses to take the drug, and the entire time you see them together, they are the most miserable, and I mean miserable couple you have ever seen. But everything she says is extremely iconic. I really wish I would have looked up the name of the actress before I started this video, because I loved her, and she very much seems like someone that should be a staple in more Ryan Murphy projects, which I've only seen his horror projects, really, like a couple of his other non-horror ones I've seen, so maybe if she's popped up somewhere else, you guys should let me know, because I really did enjoy her in this series. And across the board, I very much enjoyed a lot of the acting. I thought many of the performances throughout this entire series were very, very good. Even like with the two FBI partners I mentioned in the plot synopsis for the show, they had some of the most believable chemistry, and it was all between Evan Peters, Rebecca Hall, and later on when Rebecca Hall's character contracts the beauty, she becomes Jessica Alexander. And quite frankly, I feel like the fact that they were able to find two different actresses that were able to play the same woman and like so seamlessly slip into the character, I thought was really well done. It just shows the strength of those two actresses, because I didn't miss Rebecca Hall once she was gone, and I also very much enjoyed Jessica Alexander taking over the role. She was a welcome addition, and I felt like her chemistry with Evan Peters was just as good as Rebecca's was. The only criticism I have for acting in this show, and it only happened in one instance in the entire season, when someone contracts the beauty, you know that once they turn into somebody else, that essentially they're going to be recast with a different actor, and it is no shade to any of the actors that had to fill some big shoes, but I was very much like, fuck, when I found out that Evan Peters was going to get the injection and become somebody else. I wasn't looking forward to not seeing him in the series anymore, and I still very much feel like they never really came back from it, because it was like, it's an 11 episode season, and he is in the first 7-8 episodes, I believe, before he ends up getting the shot, and he ends up having like this defect that turns him into like this 12-year-old 13-year-old boy. And it's nothing against the child actor. I think the child actor did perfectly fine. It's just he's not Evan Peters, and he's not going to be Evan Peters, so it's really hard for me not to compare the two together, if that makes any sense. And just seeing the kid, it was a reminder that, oh yeah, Evan Peters isn't in this show anymore. Right. And I don't know. I missed him, and I really hope that with the twist ending cliffhanger they left this season on, that they do end up bringing him back if they do a follow-up season, because I very much feel like he's a staple to this cast and he shouldn't be going anywhere. Furthermore, too, like I was saying, for like the prospects of a season 2, I do think there's still so much more story to tell in this series. Whereas with Grotesque, it felt like the entire season was building up to set you off for having a season 2, and that the only way the show would possibly work is with a season 2, just because of what the story in Grotesque was. Versus in this one, it's just good TV with a good story, and if it got canceled, I would be really sad about it. But also, I feel like it did a good job of telling the story that it had to tell at the end of the day. But anyways, that is all of my thoughts on The Beauty. You guys should let me know what you thought of it. Do you think I'm being too soft on it? Did you guys enjoy it? Because I really do stand by that it is one of the best Ryan Murphy shows that's came out in a hot second, and it really did like slide back into like some of the more campy AHS roots, and like would be like one of more of like the maybe mid-tier seasons of American Horror Story if it was American Horror Story. But if you disagree with that, let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, if you're new to the channel and you want more content in the future just like this, then I'd love if you clicked on that subscribe button. I cover everything and anything horror around here. But with that all out of the way, this has been Justice, and I really hope to see you guys on the next one. Take care.